Hello and welcome to this. It is the EggChasers Rugby Podcast, the podcast about rugby that doesn't take itself or my voice too seriously. Wow, I am hoarse today.
Are you okay, JB?
Am I okay? If anyone asks me that again, I will kill them.
No, but JB, are you okay?
Oh, yeah, you've got to ask me twice, right? You've got to ask me twice.
You've got to keep asking until you break down in tears.
Yeah. It's like the first aid mental health, what are they called? What are the people in work called now? Mental health first aiders.
Yes.
Their job is basically to keep asking the question until they break down the staff.
Exactly.
And then when they break down the staff, they're meant to rebuild them and use them as like these totems as to why you should be mentally vulnerable. They're gaslighting people into admitting they're mentally vulnerable.
But are you okay, JB?
I am.
Is your voice okay? I don't care about your mental state. I just care about your voice.
I would trade my voice for the night I had on Friday several times over. That is my answer.
Worth it.
Talking about big-time party animals, down the line, Tim Cocker, how are we?
Are you okay, JB?
I'm okay, thank you, Tim.
No, I'm good. The TMO shipping container is in London town.
It has been busy, that shipping container. Very busy.
Well, you never know how much longer it'll be busy for, so you've got to use it or lose it.
Exactly right. You are in London, is that right?
Yes, correct.
What's going on in London, mate?
I'm covering on Virgin Radio this week. I'll be on at 10 o'clock. In fact, if you're listening to this like on the way on a Monday morning or any day this week for that matter, and it's maybe the morning you're on your commute, maybe get me on at 10 a.m. I'll be on.
Oh, that's a great idea.
Playing Bon Jovi to the nation.
Yes.
Very good idea.
So, I mean, there's lots of stuff going on this week. There's some transfers. There's some non-transfers. Basically, the Premiership season's over. Would you agree with that?
Well, we know who's finishing where in the spots that matter.
Yep.
So, yeah, pretty much.
There's the RFU decision, which came down on Friday, which was a surprise to absolutely nobody. But I'm going to start off with this question. And I'm sure it's not as novel as I think, but I've not really thought it through. But is this the first time the top four has been made up entirely of past champions?
Oh, wow, what a question.
I think it might be, So, last year it was Sale, champions Exeter, Saracens, and Tigers. So, no, last year it was all champions too. So, no. Gutted. Year before that it was Bristol, who've never been champions.
Yeah.
In fact, so maybe only the last 2 years.
Well, Exeter, obviously the first time that they won it, no. But presumably the second time, they played Wasps, they're a past champion. Saracens probably weren't there because of the...
Well, how many champions of the Premiership have there been? Sale, Northampton, Leicester, Exeter, Saracens...
Harlequins. I'll tell you what, everyone forgets.
Bath, Newcastle.
Bath have not done it.
Bath have not done it.
Not as... is this with the...
They've never won the Premiership.
Never won the Premiership.
Did they finish first in the table prior to playoffs?
They might have won the Allied Dunbar.
I think they finished first.
Newcastle.
Newcastle.
Yeah.
Gloucester have never won it, I don't think.
I'm just looking. So Bath, summary of winners. According to this, Bath have won it 6 times, but not the last one was 1996. So pre.
Doesn't count. Count.
That's not the Premiership.
Yeah.
That's not professional era.
Yeah. Last one pre-professional era.
So the second time, maybe, that they've all been champions.
Yeah. Maybe.
Yeah, I remember...
What was the year that Newcastle got top 4?
Oh,
yeah, that was not long ago, was it?
That's a great shout. Christ, what has happened to Newcastle as a club? Actually, you were up at Newcastle. What's the general feeling around there? Because, to me... I'm not going to put too much gloss on it. I think they're turning into a bit of a joke club.
So there's a lot of good people there.
Agreed
as
with
always, it's a rugby club. There's good people there, and there are a lot of good people, and there's a lot of effort. But I wouldn't be surprised. When I look at it, and I wouldn't be surprised if they're almost winding up, ready to voluntarily go to a second tier, whatever that looks like.
That's interesting.
They're not going to keep Carreras. There's no way. He's off. He'll be off in the summer, surely.
Yeah, exactly.
What's the length of his deal? Because he will be off at the end of his deal.
I think it's longer than this year, but I don't think that matters. I think anyone comes in with a good offer for one of their big players, and they're not going to stand in their way. They'll let them go.
Yeah. Okay.
And
I can definitely, basically, any club on the planet would want him. He's one of the best wingers in the world.
He's one of the best. He's one of the best NFL punt returners that isn't playing in the NFL.
I was going to say, I mean, you think he's moving to France? I'm thinking he's moving to Real Madrid or the Philadelphia Eagles. He's amazing, isn't he?
He's absolutely class. And in that game, kind of, how long was it in? 2 minutes in, Tim? 5 minutes in, when he makes that break and Radwan goes in the corner, and I was thinking, God, Cocker's got this right. He said Newcastle could win. They are going to. If those two keep getting the ball like that, they are going to win. Unfortunately, that was about all they did all game.
Yeah, it was pretty embarrassing. But the thing is, you've got to remember, and this is where the broader point, I think, is on the Premiership as a whole. It was only a few weeks ago, and Northampton were getting absolutely pumped by Bristol. And now they're dishing out the pumping at Newcastle. And these 60-point droppings, I think it's demonstrative of a league that is in a very bad place.
I am mixed on this. So I think Newcastle are not very good. That's the first thing I'll say. And it's not they don't have a couple of quality players. They really do. Carreras is amazing. I was going to mention Adam Radwan. Adam Radwan seems to have got his speed back. I think, having those two either side, you're always going to score some tries no matter what.
Yeah, because they're mirror images of one another on the opposite wings.
I mean, it's frightening actually when Carreras first burst onto the scene. I actually thought I was watching Radwan when who did he tear to pieces? I can't remember who it was now.
Who haven't they torn to pieces?
Yeah, it was like his first or second game though, and I was like, wow,
this
Radwan
guy
is unreal, and it's Carreras. Right, that's how good he is. But games are not won with wingers. That's why they're not the highest paid players in the Premiership. You need big second rows and big props and front rows and all the nuts and bolts, all the boring nuts and bolts. And that's
let me just qualify what I meant by that this is indicative of a Premiership, a league that's in trouble. When you watch the England team, we talk about all the coaches aren't doing that, or they should be picking this player and that player. I think you can directly draw a line between a deteriorating Premiership and a underperforming England team, and this probably goes back 5 to 10 years. Just Newcastle is one example. There are four Argentinian international players in that team, and you go around the league and there's like 20 Argentine internationals playing in the Premiership.
Yeah,
we're paying their salary, keeping them ready to potentially beat us in the World Cup. Meanwhile, there are some key positions, prop, hooker, centre, to name a few, where we do not have good enough talent either at international level right now or more worryingly, coming through to challenge the people that currently occupy the shirts. And it's only, unless there's massive reform, it's only going to get worse. Okay. You've got to remember, it was only a year or two ago, and you were genuinely, JB, saying, and this isn't to knock you because I understand why, but only a couple of years ago you were saying the Premiership is the best league in the world.
Okay, so I think there's a few things which are potential options. I'm not saying you're wrong. In fact, I think you're obviously right because England don't have that talent. Now, I wonder if some of that is, and also relating to the differential in points, I wonder if it's a case that styles in the Premiership make matchups. If you get a team that is not suited to how you play, you can get an absolute pasting. So Newcastle at home, pretty much full strength against Northampton. I mean, Northampton, the way that they attack on the right day will give you an absolute hiding. And if you're 5% off, you are going to concede a lot of points to Northampton.
And I think that's the biggest thing here, that Newcastle weren't 5% off. They were on the beach.
Yeah.
Their season's done. They've not got to worry about relegation.
Most of the lads have gone.
Exactly.
Anyway.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
This is ring fencing. Games like this is ring fencing.
100%.
Yeah. Then you look at, say, a game a few weeks ago, like Bristol versus Northampton. Northampton are susceptible to this. They obviously do not work that hard on defence. I mean, they work some parts of defence, but not that hard.
Well, they have categorically the worst defence in the league.
Yeah.
They have conceded the most points and by some distance, they're the only team who's conceded over 600 points
That's amazing.
in their 20 games.
So, I mean, Northampton's just a classic case, aren't they? You are good at what you do, and you're rubbish at what you don't do. And it's obvious what they don't do.
Yes.
But that's fine, they're top 4.
Yeah, and you've got to choose.
Yeah, you've got to choose. So because of that, maybe England are not being given these well-rounded players. Now you look at France, and you look at, say, La Rochelle or Toulouse, they can do everything. Like, there's not anything that those teams can't do because of the way that they're constructed, the way that the league is played. Whereas in the Premiership, you've got to find your niche, and you've got to sort of go with that. So that would be the first thing. Maybe the players are too specialist to the teams that they play in. And the second thing, and much, much more concerning, is even if my first stipulation was true, and even if that did make a difference, where are the next generation of players? Like, where is the English version of... I was looking at Theo Dan today. I was like, he is a good player. He should be looked at by England. I think he's a cracking player.
Yeah.
But he's not like a Malvaca, is he? Or he's not like...
No. He's not a Camille Chat.
No. Like, so where are the
Or,
next generation of beasts?
Who's the one who plays at La Rochelle? Bourgarit.
Yes.
Who's ace.
Like, they've got all of these ace guys coming through in France. Now, maybe they're more generalist, maybe they trained it, I don't know. But they're not in England. And that should be a worry, actually, because I can't think of the next great English second row, next great English prop, next great English hooker. I mean, and also, those positions do tend to mature a bit later. But who are they? Is it Dan Frost?
But the front 5,
Good question.
you're right, second row should go on that list as well. And front 5 has traditionally been a strength for England.
Yeah.
And the phrase that you two use a lot, steel sharpens steel, a ring-fenced league, the focus shifts, and all of a sudden England are not producing mutant front 5 players.
Yeah.
I don't think that's a coincidence.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there are some. I mean, like, for instance, who am I thinking of now? Like, Leicester have them all, I think. Leicester have all the young second rows in the country.
They've certainly got some depth there. I mean, there's a couple of nice ones at Exeter, but they're Welsh, in Jenkins and Tashunza. But there's not a huge amount coming through. Even like the pair at Quins, at Saracens, one stolen from Quins.
Yeah.
Tizard and Callum Hunter-Hill.
Yeah.
And not...
No, I don't know. Sorry.
No, go on.
Phil, I don't know whether you watched rugby tonight this evening, or either of you did.
I do not watch rugby tonight.
I did not.
I knew JB wouldn't. And your blood would have been boiling, JB. But anyway, but it always makes me giggle how many things that one or two or all of us come up with at some point, and years later other people mention it, and it gets treated like a revolutionary call. That what a great mind. And Pat Lamb suggested a draft.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, really? Was it a simultaneous multi-auction?
Multi-round auction.
It wasn't a simultaneous multi-round auction, but Ugo was talking about what a great spectacle that would be, and it'd give you loads of stories to tell in the off-season. And Pat Lamb was saying it would distribute the young players and just do away with academies. It was just so many things that would go like, yeah, that'll be episode whatever number. That'll be,
thanks, guys.
That'll be then.
Yeah, and they'll all be thought of as revolutionary thinkers now. Particularly Pat Lamb. I mean, I don't think that guy's had a novel idea for a long time. At least
some solutions are getting spoken about.
A saying that Michael Gove used, but it wasn't Michael Gove saying. Do you know when? Have you ever heard of Churchillian drift? But by the way,
no.
Churchillian drift is.
Is it a defence that London Irish used back in the day?
Yeah. Well, yeah, the old London Wasps or something. No, Churchillian drift is basically every quote eventually gets attributed to Churchill. So whether this is Govian drift, I don't really know. But he said it's amazing what can be achieved if nobody cares who gets the credit. So if we get a draft in the Premiership and we can credit Pat Lamb, I'm all for it.
Yeah.
As much as that would pain me, because then he'll go on to be commissioner of the bloody NRL or something.
So I don't think it's worth dwelling on the game too much, other than Northampton have got some ace players. And Phil, someone that you mentioned a couple of weeks ago, it might have even been last week, how much you like Fraser Dingwall. That guy's good. That guy's a really good player.
Yeah.
Love Fraser Dingwall. I think he's class. And he can play 12 and 13 as well, which not many people can.
Well, Hutchinson can.
Hutchinson's not English, unfortunately. But yes, Hutchinson can. Although Hutchinson wearing 12 is, I don't know, is he more like a Jason Robinson style 12?
I got no idea what he is.
He's not really a typical 12, is he?
I think he's just amazing. Like, he's the guy you want to bring if the opposition defence is 10% off. Right?
Oh, yeah.
But he's not the guy you want to bring if they are completely on their game. He is a gamble in of himself.
Well, I was kind of watching it. So I watched the last 2 weeks of really Saracens, but who they've played, because they've played their two potential opponents for the playoffs. And I did find it interesting that they fielded a weakened team against Northampton, which gave Northampton the win, or it gave them a chance for the win, and then the Duncan Taylor red card helped. And then when they played Irish, they played a pretty strong team, close to as strong as they could actually field, bearing in mind the injuries.
Yeah.
Which effectively eliminated London Irish. Well, not effectively. It did eliminate London Irish from the running.
I think.
And meant that they were then playing Northampton. So it's kind of you could read that one or two ways. Either Saracens, it was the right time to rest and all of that, or they'd rather play Northampton.
100%.
This is like the club call. It's like the club call in rugby league.
Yeah, it is.
It kind of was. It's like an indirect club call.
Well, I just don't think they respect Northampton or what they do.
I that's more where I fall in this.
If you got their boys off the record, right, and you asked what do you think of Northampton, they would say they are shocking. Now, I don't think that. I think Northampton are a very interesting team, but I just don't think they'll be respected by Saracens one bit. I mean, I think Tompkins, Lazowski, Farrell, they just know they're going to beat them up, and they're going to beat them up badly and aggressively. That's what's going to happen. That's what's going to happen. So, yeah, unless Saints play a remarkable game of rugby against Saracens in a few weeks' time, it's going to be completely one-way traffic.
I'm just going to remind you, broadly speaking, I agree. In terms of matchups, Saracens match up very well against Saints. But I am going to remind you of that semi-final last year where Leicester are not dissimilar from Saracens in their style of play, and Northampton went away from Welford Road feeling like they really should have got to a Premiership final.
Yeah. I mean, look, Saracens will have to be careful not to beat themselves. That's what I'd say, because I think their team selection today was two things. I think they thought they had three things, right? So they're treating this as the first playoff game, I think. Eliminate Irish. They don't want to see Irish in the playoffs for good reason. And also, if Irish turn them over today, what an amazing statement for Irish going into that semi-final. Irish would almost be favourites going in, because they've got so many good players, they've got so much explosivity, they can score. So Saracens did a proper number.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, I think Saracens purely picked it on. It was just the right time to rest their players, because they had the international Six Nations finished, and they had their big Tottenham Stadium weekend, so they had to play their big guns in that.
Well,
they had the Champions Cup, and then they had Northampton. So it was the obvious time to rest players.
I mean, there is that too, and they're all very good at rotating. The other thing as well is I do not think they had exercised the ghost of La Rochelle, and that is the first time in about 4 years I've seen them tactically wanting. They were tactically awful, and I've never said that about Saracens, because they're brilliant. They're a brilliant organisation. And I also think that's probably why the first 40 minutes today was close, because they looked nervous and rusty and unsure of themselves. And then second half, they got their act together and it's game over.
And credit to London Irish in that first half.
Yeah.
They got the first points on the board. They scored the try through Rogerson, took it very well. And they made it an arm wrestle for Saracens. Saracens didn't have it all their own way. Irish kicked well. They kick returned well. And for at half time, you thought either team could win this. Yeah. And then Rob Simmons happened. Rob Simmons with his fifth yellow card of the season, and He might have got 2 reds. I might be getting confused.
Yes,
with
he
last season.
does.
He's had definitely one. Anyway, and I bet that the majority of them are for high tackles.
Yeah, probably. Almost certainly, actually.
And it's just one of those where it's like...
Now, he caught someone...
It's
I think
Theo Dan
that's it, yeah.
in this game. And it was an arm. It was a bit awkward because he was rushing up, but it was just it got described by Lawrence Delarue as dull, and it kind of was, because we've seen this at least 5 times already this season that has cost London Irish games. So after that, it felt like there was no way back, and Faz started accumulating points. The driving maul got going, and it ended up being a nice, comfortable win for Saracens.
It's very comfortable. In fact, it's disappointingly comfortable in the end.
It was a little bit, yeah.
So, I've just forgotten what I was about to say now. Oh, yeah. For London Irish, I mean, we do talk about how exciting they are. We spoke about their back three lots and lots. I have been really disappointed with the second half of the season from Arundel.
Well, he was injured for a period of time, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Then he was with England, and then he's hardly been used.
Yeah, he's coming for the bench. He just doesn't seem to be making an impact. And I thought this is going to be the next great player. I want him to have an impact. If he's going to be international, we think he is, and he still might be, he needs to be performing like Carreras is in Newcastle. He needs to have those moments consistently, and I just didn't see him.
I agree. I don't, because the game was dead. I don't even know how long he got.
Came on about
20 minutes.
30 minutes, 20 minutes on that.
Yeah, not enough time in a game like this. But you're right, he should be starting.
Yeah, yeah.
I've just done a very quick check back on the teams who have... the top 4s where all top 4s have won the league. I think there's 2.
This season, last season?
No. 22... this season, last season, and 1 before that.
Saints?
No. We mentioned it before. When Newcastle.
Newcastle.
Yeah. It's 2018.
So it's the Newcastle, Leicester, Quins and Saracens.
Not Leicester, because it was one of those years where Leicester should have been relegated, I think.
So the first year... I might even be the first year Leicester didn't make the playoffs.
It might have been, yeah.
So Quins, Sale, Newcastle.
Sale would not be there, would they?
No.
And Saracens.
No. You've only got 2 of the teams.
Okay. Definitely Northampton then.
Okay.
Not Northampton.
Okay.
So
Definitely.
Newcastle and Saracens. Saracens and Newcastle.
Saracens and Newcastle.
Yeah.
They played each other in the semi. No, they didn't. No, they didn't.
No, they didn't. They did not.
Harlequins, Exeter?
Exeter. So it's the year after Exeter won it.
And Wasps.
And Wasps.
There you go.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Exeter, Saracens, Wasps.
That's a brilliant segue into another talking point.
Well, let's just before that segue, because let's use that segue. But I've been looking back, and so what year did the playoffs start?
Okay, I know almost exactly, because so it would have been
2005. I don't know.
No, 2000. Yeah, around that time, 2004, 2005, I'd say.
2003 it was.
Ah, okay.
Who topped the first table? You know this, JB.
Gloucester.
Yeah. Tim knows it. But it took until... actually, if we're using this... So Newcastle aren't... Because Newcastle won it in 1998 when there wasn't playoffs.
I'm allowing league winners.
But Bath won it 2 years before that.
Did they?
Wasn't the Premiership though? It wasn't professionalism in the Premiership.
Yeah. So So Newcastle won the first Premiership.
When they had Inga, Tweeler, Marler, they just bought all the players. Gareth Archer, they just bought everyone.
Well, maybe that 2018 year. It depends how you define that. Is it calling it the Premiership, or is it the playoffs that count?
No. So even the playoffs. Newcastle was the first year of professional rugby that they won it. I think.
Or second year, yeah. It depends when you class, but it was about 96 professionalism, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So the year before that, anyway.
It's basically when the name was changed to the Premiership.
Well, yeah. So then it takes
rather than the Courage Leagues or whatever.
Yeah, because that's when they would have dished out the shares and the restructuring and all the rest of it.
But yeah, it depends if you count Newcastle. But if you don't count Newcastle, then in '98, it takes until 2011 to get the fourth winner, because Wasps and Leicester won almost everything for a dozen years between 1999 and 2010. So just after that Newcastle win and just before Saracens' first win, Leicester and Wasps won everything apart from 2005-06 when Sale won it.
So, okay. So
prior to that point, you couldn't have a top four with four winners because there were not four winners.
Exactly right. Exactly right. So Wasps now become one of the most important teams in England for rugby trivia, because they'll be a little trick question that everyone will forget because they're no longer in the public eye.
Yeah.
Well, segue time.
Oh, here we go.
So have I got this correct? Okay, this is as I understand it's happening. Okay, right. So a couple of days ago, the RFU announced, they've been announcing quite a few things lately, but this is one of them. The RFU announced that there will be relegation from the English Championship. So wait till basically there's 1 week left of the season to announce what's happened, what's actually happening with that league. That sounds like a really good way to steward the league. Anyway, so they announced that, which means it meant that the London Scottish versus Richmond game at the weekend became almost a playoff to be relegated to National 1 and play under the RFU's new laws.
Yes.
The community game at Tier 3.
So now Mark Bright and his team for Richmond or the London Scottish team and all their guys, some of which are ex-pros at Premiership clubs, they were playing to potentially drop down to the community game, and whilst they're not elite rugby players anymore, they're community rugby players.
Right, a community player. Good luck.
I know, community player. So if Richmond go down, Mark Bright and all his incredible service to rugby and all those tries, he is now a player just the same as a level 10 club, 15.
You know, that is a guy we should get on the podcast.
100%.
It's one of the few people in rugby I'm actually bothered about interviewing.
Yeah.
Do a rugby pod for Mark Bright. That'd be a great episode.
Yeah.
That'd be a great episode. We need to get that done. So anyway, the RFU announced that there's going to be a relegation from the Championship. Mark Bright's Richmond lost the game against London Scottish and are now 1 point behind with one game to go at the bottom of the table, looking at going down to be a community rugby club. So Richmond, a team that when they had financial irregularities were banished to the very bottom of the league pyramid, are quite possibly going to be relegated to the community level of the game. A team, and next season, who's going to be in the Championship?
Cambridge.
Wasps. A team with financial irregularities.
Who have financial irregularities, currently have no club, no ground, and no players.
Yeah, send them to... I mean, I've been fairly vocal about this. Send them to the bottom of the pyramid.
Yeah.
That's where they deserve to be.
Agreed.
There's no ifs or buts. If you're so reckless with your money... Actually, I don't think Wasps were reckless. They were both. They were unlucky and reckless. But you just go to the bottom of the pyramid.
Yeah, unlucky, over-optimistic and unlucky.
Yeah.
At a bad time.
Yeah.
But given what's happened to Richmond, for example, amongst others, it does feel a bit strange that this is an exceptional difference.
Yeah, I agree with that. It's poor. But actually, we were talking about Mark Bright and co. battling to stay up to play the normal laws. Well, I've seen one game of Nat 1 rugby this year, only one, and that was a fight in order not to play the children's rules, and that was Sale and Cambridge, and it sounds like Cambridge will probably go up this year.
Well, the race for promotion in National 1 and to go up to the Championship is massive. So it's Sale FC finished 1 point behind Rams, having played all their games. There is one fixture remaining, Cambridge are playing it, and they are 4 points behind Rams. So a 5-point win next weekend, and Cambridge get to play the full elite rules.
Yeah.
Otherwise Rams go up.
Yeah. So it's gone down. There were 5 teams, weren't there, challenging at the top. It was Rams, Cambridge, FC. I can't remember the life of me who the other one was.
Roslyn Park.
Now, Roslyn Park are the interesting ones, because apparently Roslyn, and I don't know if it's for a fact, but apparently they can beat anyone on their day, but they quite like not being championship because of where they are, you know.
Yeah.
They've got a nice little setup. They've got a lot of boys working in the city, and they do not really want to be going into championship with the kind of commitment that takes.
Yes, which is sensible. I've known other clubs perhaps think it's sensible not to get promoted at certain times because they don't want to spend a load more money to have to travel much longer distances.
Yeah.
Just to compete.
Yeah, exactly.
Another announcement that's been handed down, I thought would be useful. Another RFU announcement this week, but nothing to do with, or is it Prem Rugby? I don't know. But Jack Knoll, £10,000 fine. What do you make of that?
Oh, God.
I mean, look, do I think he should be mouthing off about referees? No, not really. Not with his platform. But do I take anything that the RFU do seriously? No, not really. So, like, Jack Knoll shouldn't have done it, but I just loathe the RFU so intensely that they have no authority in my mind. You know, they are not the ones that should be upholding the standards of the game because they have no standards. They're a morally corrupt organisation. So,
and £10,000 is...
Don't pay it. Just don't pay it.
I mean, we spoke... Well, they'll just... I mean, that would be quite an interesting one. Don't pay it. Right, Jack, you're going to be on the bench for England. £18,000. We'll take £10,000 of it, and because you refuse to pay it, we'll take the extra £8,000
well, So Jack Knoll might or might not go to World Cup. I don't know, because I'm not entirely sure what Steve Borthwick thinks of him, and he was injured for the last one. Was he not? Not World Cup, England squad.
Yeah, he certainly wasn't in the last England squad.
Yeah. So he's going to La Rochelle. Now, I'm just saying I'm not paying it. And then I'll speak to the La Rochelle director of rugby. You'll pay me a lot of money to be here. I don't want to pay that stupid fine. Can you still play me? Yeah, probably. I mean, I'm sure there's more.
Yeah.
It's like when Rob Shaw had a beer and they followed him with a spy. Like, I'm going to America. Fuck off. There's no way I would part with my money. There's just no way.
That, it seems so heavy-handed as well. Because we spoke about the inconsistency in the application of that law. It's not even inconsistency. It's been consistently applied for as long as any of us could remember, except this one incident because of what happened to Carl Dixon previously, as you mentioned last time. Can
I just talk about Carl Dixon a second?
Yes, please.
I had my story confirmed. And my story is confirmed by people who were present at that meeting. So I thought it was right. Turns out I was absolutely spot on.
Your guess.
Well, educated. I mean, it's one hell of a random guess, isn't it?
Totally random guess.
It's totally random.
And a recap on what that was that you said, in case anyone didn't listen to last week's podcast.
Yeah, I'm amazed this hasn't got more traction actually as a real story. But what happened was Carl Dixon made a decision like this. Oh, this is remarkable. Listen to this. This is remarkable. Isn't there extra detail that you can dwell on? Carl Dixon made a decision in the Harlequins Bristol game where Tom Whiteley made a tackle on Andre Esterhazen crossing the line, and Andre Esterhazen knocked the ball on or something like that. Basically, there was no try. Okay?
So Tom Whiteley went off his feet, slid off his feet, and collided with Andre Esterhazen, who was also sliding off his feet. And Carl Dixon gave it as a legitimate tackle, even though both bodies were on the floor.
Yeah.
Which is, I think, consistent with what we've seen in dozens of rugby games, rugby tackles over the last 20 years that we've all watched rugby.
Exactly right. The commentators thought it was brilliant.
Yeah.
The opposition coaches never mentioned anything about this.
No one.
Except for some absolute busybodies in World Rugby. So Carl Dixon goes some conferencey type thing in World Rugby, and they criticise the decision. He stands his ground, and they said, no, Carl, you're wrong. What the player needs to do is run to the try line, turn around, and then try and affect the tackle. And you think, like, who are these people? Who are these lunatics that we've let loose out of an asylum to run our game? But they walk among us.
Now there is something in that where it's like, what's my alternative? In some scenarios, there are no alternatives. Like, for example, you can't tackle a man in the air. Like, the alternative is let him hit the ground and then hit him afterwards. And that plays out like there are some scenarios where it is impossible to stop a try being scored.
Yep.
You have to let a try being scored. Otherwise, it's going to be a penalty try and a red card.
Yep.
Therefore, your best option is concede 7 points rather than 7 points and a red card.
Or 5 points in the corner.
And the best example I can think of, I've never seen this happen in rugby union, but I think I've seen it in the NRL, is if someone jumps in goal, a crossfield kick that goes in goal, the attacking player jumps in goal, catches the ball in the air, and manages to get the ball down before any part of his body touches the ground, you can't stop that try.
Really?
Because you can't tackle him.
Yeah.
You could maybe try and knock the ball out of his hand
Sort of flap at it
as he's going, but it's going to be so fast. But that is, your options are basically risk taking him out in the air, red card and penalty try, or concede 7 points.
So if you ask a high
Are you sure about that, Phil? Hold on, just recap. So briefly say the scenario again.
So crossfield kick.
Yeah. Okay.
It goes into the
you're
goal.
Right. No, you're absolutely
attacking player jumps, catches the ball, and then kind of spins in the air. So the lowest part of his body, the first part that touches the floor, is the ball.
Yeah. Yeah. No, you're quite right. How about this one for an interesting little nerdy ref thing then?
Go on.
What can you do or can't you do as a defensive player if a winger, let's say Radwan at the weekend, that amazing try he scored, where a player leaps to touch the ball down?
So you leap over somebody else?
Well, you just leap in the air to put the ball down.
Yeah.
You're airborne to place the ball.
I actually asked a referee about this, and in my mind, it's completely illegal. But
to jump into yeah. Well, this is, I pointed out last week. I think this is one of the clear inconsistencies, or the law is not.
So I was just going to say, I think. Well, sorry. I think you're probably going to say. I'm probably just cut across you completely unnecessarily because you're going to say effectively what will effectively back up your point. As I understand it, you can tackle that player because a tackle is only complete when a player's knee touches the floor. So if they voluntarily dive, oh no, hold on.
But they can't jump out of a tackle.
Yeah.
No, I'm getting.
And they have the ball,
yeah.
right? So you might be getting confused with, like, there's a long pass and the player jumps in the air to get the pass. I think there's one in the Lions, wasn't there, where the All Black prop made a tackle, or Sinclair tackled the prop, or something like that. Yeah, Sinclair on the opposition prop. One of them is trying to catch a ball from a pass in the air and he jumps and he gets hit, right? So you can't do that. However, good luck trying to persuade a referee if you were to try and jump over the defence underneath the posts. They would have no time for that.
Yeah, and this is one that either you need to start applying the law. This was my exact point last week or the week before. Apply the law as written or change the way the law is written.
Yeah.
Don't just randomly start creating new precedent that's either contradictory to what everything that's gone before, or all of a sudden starts following the laws.
That's what it is, isn't it? Oh, that looks good. We'll keep it. And actually, am I bothered with that? No, not overly.
It's generally not dangerous.
But here's the thing with Carl Dixon, right? Carl Dixon was left hanging out to dry. And it is strongly my opinion that in these meetings, if they are going to absolutely smash a referee, they should release
100%.
Yeah, a press release saying, we annihilated Carl Dixon over this. The referee thought it was good, and we think it was bad for these reasons. And when Carl Dixon makes the next decision,
everyone can point back and say, well, yeah, ordinarily he would be wrong, but now we know why he is doing what he's told.
You know, Carl Dixon got awfully treated by Twitter, which does matter. He got awfully treated by World Rugby. I don't think anyone at the RFU, I've not seen any press statements saying Carl Dixon got it right. He's not been supported.
I was thinking about this the other day.
Ridiculous.
That is the worst thing. Like it 100% should be a statement saying ignore all the precedent that you've seen hundreds of times and think is right.
Yeah.
This is how we are going to apply it in future.
Yeah.
Which is what they did with all of the hive tackle framework. It was, right, we're going to put out something that makes it clear. On this incident, the Carl Dixon sliding along the floor, affect the tackle on the floor, we've had no such comment at all. We should have a statement. I really strongly think we should have one.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
I was just going to say the thing I was getting confused with the in the air is that having watched that clip a couple of times since, one thing I spotted was the tackle is only complete when a player's knee touches the floor, and that's the point at which Ollie Woodburn is no longer allowed to play the player when the knee touches the floor. And up until that point, Ollie Woodburn could quite legitimately hit the player because the tackle hasn't been completed.
Yes.
But when you actually look at it, the time between the knee touching the floor and Ollie Woodburn making contact is, I'm not joking, a fraction of a fraction of a second. It's like almost the same time.
Yeah. So he's already committed to the challenge.
Yeah.
Because who was it? It was Hogg and Woodburn making the tackle on... God, I can't even remember now. Ashton. Yeah, because it was to stop Ashton's 100th try.
Can I just say, did anyone think Aaron Reid committed any crimes stopping Reece Summit?
LRZ. Yeah.
Because I thought, why is this not the same?
LRZ was in the air, not on the floor, wasn't he?
Yeah, hi.
So that's my point around diving to score a try is not measured. It's not adjudicated as per the written word.
Yeah,
it's adjudicated on some other
by the way,
series of properties on precedent.
There's so many other examples, like Woodburn again. Remember when Woodburn jumped over Nandolo?
No.
In the Champions Cup game, just jumped over him.
Really?
So like Nandolo catches in mid-air like WWE, and then Woodburn scores. So someone's broken a law there. I don't know what the law is. Someone's broken a law, right? The other one was Mpimpi and what's his name? Corabetti.
Okay,
one's jumping in the air, the other one's doing something else. They're both horribly illegal. I don't know what the outcome was.
There's no arms, everyone's jumping.
Yeah, there's no arms, one's jumping. Like, what
play
is this? Just play on. Just play on. But that's
just jumping back to Jack Noel a second. One of the reasons I feel especially aggrieved for him is that he was far from the only person tweeting their displeasure, even out of the professional players in the Premiership. He was the only one that was very. He's really the only difference is. Lots of people wrote that is an absolute joke, but didn't give specifics about what it was. Jack Noel said that is the worst refereeing decision I've ever seen, or something like that. So I just reckon players can just get around it. Say whatever you want, but have like a code word between yourselves,
like a safety
burger.
word.
Like that is the most horrendous burger I've ever seen.
Yeah,
what a shocking burger, or whatever it is. Anything, just have a code and then you can say what you want.
Do you know the Liz? I can't say this. I don't know why I even thought of saying that as a good idea. No, I won't say that.
Tell me off air.
Oh, I'm intrigued, please.
Shall I just go for it? Yeah, why not? No, I can't. There could be kids listening.
Oh, okay.
Can you talk around it? Talk around it?
It's like a code. There's an item of jewellery a very famous female politician used to wear to advertise a thing that she was into.
I can put two and two together.
Yeah.
I think that's a good idea, Tim. Just be non-specific about your outrage. It could be a burger. It could be... They're all into computer games. It could be League of Legends or Fortnite or whatever you're playing. The kids play these days. Yeah.
I mean, I actually think the person that should be up against a committee of some sort, the people that didn't support Carl Dixon.
Yeah.
And I think the reason they didn't support Carl Dixon is because if those minutes were made public... and the rugby viewing public knew what was said behind closed doors, which is a player has to run to the try line, turn around and affect the tackle, they'd be laughed out of town and they'd lose their jobs because nobody wants that sort of person in charge. And that's the problem.
Or probably more likely is that they sincerely thought that was the right thing to say at the time in that meeting. Yeah, and they only changed their mind and realised how ridiculous it was when they saw the reaction of players and rugby fans.
I'm 100% with you. I'm 100% with you that it may have well been sincere. And if it was, they especially need to go.
Yeah,
I mean, that to me is like even worse.
Because they don't understand. Yeah.
At least if they were
another thing.
At least if they're insincere, they understand the game. But the incompetence.
Yeah. Yes, I will go with you on that if that is the case. Now, do you remember in the early days of the pod, and we're closing in on 10 years now? The early days of the pod. Do you remember what we called Luke Cowan-Dickie?
Mullet-Dickie.
Oh yeah,
because he was the original rugby mullet.
Well, I doubt that.
He was definitely one of the finest
pioneers.
Pioneers in is it South Devon.
South Devon, like he was the first guy in Devon to own a PlayStation, and he was the first guy in Devon to have a crazy haircut.
MHD.
Anyway, we called him Mullet-Dickie. Maybe we need to call him Legend-Dickie from now on.
Oh, this is bad.
Is this the kind of semi-breaking story of the rumours around his Montpellier contract?
So I have a story about a player and a contract, and I won't give specifics, but I know it to be true. I know it deeply to be true. Okay, when I say deeply, I don't really mean like Meghan Markle's deeply. It's not like my truth. It is true. Okay, so there is a player somewhere in the Premiership that liked to party, and he had an existing contract with a club somewhere in the Premiership, and he didn't show up for work. And this director of rugby said, "Look, we're not going to talk about this. However, you will sign this revised contract, and here is your new salary." And it was far, far below his actual salary, and he had nowhere to go. So guess what he did? He signed his contract, right?
Interesting.
Overnight, he had a massive pay cut. Now, if I'm Montpellier, I've spent a lot of money on Luke Cowan-Dickie, or about to spend a lot of money on Luke Cowan-Dickie, but he's out on the beers, and he misses a medical. I'm going to make a judgment. I'm going to say, do I want this guy? Yeah, I do. But I certainly don't want him as much as I used to, because your hook is a key part. And your English international Premiership winning and European Cup champion hooker is an especially key part. They're not assigning him to be a backup. They're signing him to win things. And you need the absolutely best people. So he doesn't deserve the best salary. If he's doing that sort of stuff, he doesn't deserve the best salary. I would not be surprised if Montpellier go back to him and say, look, here's your new salary. Do you want that or not? Because if not, you're going to go into the Premiership for 40 grand a year.
And the rumour, as you just touched on, is that he missed the second day of his medical at Montpellier because he'd been on the lash. And to make this, to plot and thicken the plot even more, he was on the lash, and was both he and his agent were hungover, so they both missed it.
Oh my word!
That's the rumour.
Yeah, these are just rumours now.
Oh my!
But that is, it's not a good look. Although what I will say in MHD's defence is, he's got a lot of examples of being hyper professional, both for Exeter when he's winning things and for England. But this, regardless, this is not a good look.
It's not a good look.
If any of it is true,
and I actually don't doubt. I don't doubt his professionalism. What I'm trying to say really is, there is a game to be played between the clubs who dish out the money and the responsibility that those managers have to their owners to spend the salary cap wisely. If I can knock 10%, 20% off Luke Cowan-Dickie's salary, you should do that, I guess. That's your responsibility. Because I don't think he's got anywhere else to go unless he goes somewhere else in France.
Well, it depends. Because my guess is on your other example, that would be, they categorise it as a significant breach of contract.
Yeah.
It depends where this falls, i.e. they've within their rights to totally rip up that contract. Does this missing a medical when you're not a Montpellier player, does it... have they signed a contract, yes or no?
Did you sign a contract before the medical?
Probably not. You probably signed like heads of terms, or it might just
subject to medical.
Yeah. So he might not have a contract, in which case it's fair game. If he's got a contract, is it sufficient to rip it up and start again? Probably not, but you never know.
Yeah, I don't know, but these are the games I think people play with salary caps all the time.
Oh yeah, and there'll be players. I guess it will push players when there's less money going around the same number of players, or less. Yeah, definitely, it's less money going around the same number of players because there's fewer teams and the money is lowered.
And I guarantee there's no one in the Premiership with the salary cap room available
to
sign him at the amount he'll get at Montpellier.
Oh, definitely not. No one will be able to do that.
And he can't. And maybe this is a real problem for.
Or there might be, like, Newcastle might have much headroom, but they don't have the cash.
Yeah, and they don't have
and
the ambition.
they won't. Yeah, they won't want to spend it, so they're never going to do it.
So, like, maybe this is an example of a weakness in the Premiership, because do they want to keep English players in the Premiership or not? The answer is yes, they do. But of course, even if a Premiership team said that is our missing piece, they can't even make him the marquee player.
No.
So he can't come back for big bucks anyway.
No.
My guess is Montpellier give him a reduced deal, or he grovels, or he goes to somewhere else in France.
Or Japan.
Yeah.
But the bit that will be really interesting is... So England are losing all this talent. They've not been doing particularly well in Six Nations and other games, shall we say, internationals, since the last World Cup. That is going to continue, that performance. When does the RFU say, OK, enough's enough, we've got to have a Giteau law or Gatland's law or something, we've got to relax their selection policy. But when they do that, these players will be worth less to the French clubs. Because if Luke Cowan-Dickie is only going to play 12 games a season or 14 games a season for Montpellier, he's not worth 400k, he's worth 300k.
Yeah, but they miss out on all those camps, don't they?
They do.
So that's the other point. They don't have the release clauses. He'll be there for the bare minimum.
It would be Jack Willis. Jack Willis did it this year.
Yeah.
So it's, but it does mean they're still missing whatever it is, 10 games a season for their club.
But it is a good question. What is the value of an international? So we know under the salary cap, it's much lower. We know for English clubs, it's just not worth it. Like, Corny Law is a great player, just not worth it. Unless you get to the playoffs, why would you have him on your books? It costs a fortune.
And that is the problem. That if you can guarantee you're going to be top 4 every year, the England players are worth it.
Yeah.
If you can't guarantee it, and like look at how stacked Quins are, for example, how much talent they've got. Nope. Exeter, a couple of years ago, you would have said it's unthinkable that they don't make top 4. Nope.
Yep.
So it's you need the full squad all year round.
So just going back to that then.
And France is no different. You look at the teams who are in 6th, 7th, 8th positions in France who are going to be missing out on the playoffs. There's some big teams.
But the other point to this I was going to make is those French top 14 teams are selling out football stadiums now. 30,000, 25,000, fairly regularly. The Premiership would only dream of doing that. So is there a benefit of having Luke Cowan-Dickie, current England international, current Lions player, in your team? Maybe there is, if your goal is to attract 30 to 40,000 people to a football stadium. Maybe there is a different benefit to these French clubs, because it's not like the salary cap is really hindering them.
Yeah, maybe. I guess my point is he is worth less to that club.
Yeah.
If he's on a 3-year deal and 1 year into that deal they flip him to be ineligible for England, he misses 10 games, he is worth less to Montpellier.
Yeah, I'm just amazed how quickly this has happened. So my prediction was that the economic power of the French clubs would soon force the hand of the English clubs. I said that 18 months ago. I thought this is a 5-year process. I did not think it was a 2-year process.
Yeah.
And it is upon us right now. And the only option for the RFU is going to be central contracts, and even they will run out of steam at some point, because those central contracts will have to be paid from somewhere at the expense of something else. Mm-hmm. They're going to have no club game, as in professional club game. I think that's already ruined. I can't see any way back for the Premiership. I think it's done. The next 5 years, it's going to have to. It's going to have to go bankrupt. There's no way. I can't see a way out for it. Can you?
I can't see a way for it going back to the top. That is in competitive. I think it's a downward trend.
I can't even see a way for it to survive, if I'm honest.
This conversation could be about the economy or about the Premiership. I think the two are destined for the same thing. They're gonna rally, give the appearance that it's all right, but ultimately there is an iceberg ahead, and at some point it's going to sink.
Yeah, I think maybe the big difference between the economy and rugby at the moment is that the iceberg is some point in the future for the economy. What's happening to Premiership is happening right now. We could have a situation, right, where London Irish made top 4 today, or were very close to making top 4.
And no longer exist.
Yeah, they're on the brink. Newcastle are 100. I mean, maybe they're cutting their costs so they stay relevant. But Newcastle might be the future model of what all clubs look like.
Yeah, race to the bottom.
Yeah.
Because you get your... But it's the tragedy of the commons. If all clubs race to the bottom like that, then the product falls off a cliff.
Yep.
Then the BT Sport money falls off a cliff. Then everyone's only spending 1 million, but they're not even taking that in TV money or revenue through the gates.
No, there's only one element of the game which I can say is truly positive, and that is the effect of the salary cap on the way that the clubs are developing. I think the coaching is great. I think the refereeing is great. Everything else is awful. Like the money, like the numbers are awful. The squad composition is awful. It's going to get worse. And like you say, Phil, when everything turns into Newcastle, who's going to watch it?
It is. If there's no relegation, the sensible option is to race to the bottom and hope other teams do the heavy lifting to keep the TV money high. So if you spend 1 million but you're getting 4 million a year in TV money, that's the dream. If you're spending 5 million and you're only getting 3 million of TV money, you're just losing money every year. You need a rich benefactor.
It might even be worth pulling out of Europe, which sounds mental, but I'll tell you why. Because you can sort of give a veneer of competitiveness or entertainment by playing each other all the time. So, like, if I watch...
Brexit.
Yeah, Brexit, right? So, like, if I watch that one right now, I think I'd be really impressed with that one. I think if that one was the highest standard of rugby in the country and it just existed in isolation, I think I could love that league and I think it'd be really good.
Yeah.
But when they go to Europe and they get smashed by 70 points...
By the Pro D2 or Pro 3 or whatever it is.
Yeah. Newcastle are a Pro D2 team. I think they get smashed in Pro D2. So...
Can I just say just one thing? I cringe a little bit when English people say Pro D2.
Pro D2.
Pro D2.
Pro D2.
No, Carl says Pro D2.
Say the word. I feel awkward going to a baker's and saying the word croissant.
How do you say it? Can I have a butter rolled pastry, please?
Yeah. I just don't ask for it because I don't like saying it. Can I have a...
Yeah.
Can I flip the script and give like a positive story?
Yes, please.
King's Home. I bloody love Gloucester.
Isn't it cool?
I love Gloucester Rugby Club.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one, mate. With you on that one completely.
It's so much to love. It's the fact that even when their team are 9th and have just completely shat the bed on their playoff ambitions, the shed is still packed 45 minutes, an hour before kickoff.
It's so cool there.
The fans are still loud as you like, desperately cheering for their team. The relationship between the players and their team, as long as they see the lads out on the pitch are kind of putting in effort, then actually it doesn't matter whether they want them to win, but it doesn't matter whether they're first or last in the table. And it's just a special place. And actually, there was no lack of effort. And Gloucester will probably have wouldn't have got to sleep very well last night because they'd have been thinking about the chances that they messed up.
Yeah, I think more than any other club, certainly the clubs that I've interacted with, I think the Gloucester players and Gloucester fans are very close. And I think because it's like how can I say, Gloucester's not the most affluent town. If you go there, it just isn't. But I think there's that sort of working class vibe that runs through the club. So it makes it fairly unique compared to, I don't know, Harlequins or Bath or any of these other sides. And I think that's sort of reflected in the players. I find Gloucester players in particular incredibly approachable. I mean, when I went last time, I did go... I sat with Jamal Ford-Robinson, but, I was chatting to Freddie Clark, chatting to quite a few of them, and they're just much more... They're not much more approachable, but it's just a different vibe you get from those players. It's hard to explain, but yeah, I completely agree with you. I think it's something to do with how much the fans care, like that area. It's a very, very cool place to watch rugby. I would recommend it to anyone. And I think one of the reasons it's cool is because how many opposition fans hate them.
Really?
Yeah, they don't like it.
Interesting.
So Saracens are one. I mean, Saracens got very upset with the booing of the kicker and all sorts of stuff like that.
Oh yeah.
But like, so what? Get a grip. You're a professional sports team. Get a grip.
And also another positive story: Jersey Reds.
Yes, I had a beer with the Jersey Reds number 8.
When?
2 weeks ago.
In Holland or in France? When you've got such a jet set lifestyle.
I'm like a pound shop Tim Cocker.
When I was in Hebden Bridge and then in Snowdonia, you were in Holland and one of the most luxurious ski resorts in
France,
in Europe.
His name is Tim Gray. Plays number 8 or back row for Jersey. I don't know if he played this week, but he is a product of RGC. So I was out with friend of the pod and past barbarian Brim Williams.
Big Bruno.
We bumped into him. We had a great chat about Jersey rugby. So I was, even though I have no real dog in the fight, I was seriously backing Jersey this week.
And well, someone else who just again pointed out that we probably should have mentioned this on last week's pod. This game, Jersey versus Ealing, at the top of the championship, nothing but pride and bragging rights because of the RFU's and Prem Rugby's decision to have a 10,000 capacity stadium when there was, there's clubs in the Premiership already with a few thousand in there, but that's a different matter altogether. But Matt Cotton, who writes for the Times, listens to the pod, all round good guy, and actually I do like his columns on a Friday. They're quite, in fact,
bit of levity.
He sneaks, a bit of levity in rugby, but he also sneaks in little pod references every now and again into his Times columns. The one on Gloucester the other week about next year being Gloucester's year.
That's the one.
And ones like that I quite enjoyed.
Well, Stephen Jones said that they're only 2 players away from competing. I know 3 players away, but I wonder where he got the concept from.
Anyway, it was Matt Cotton said that, we should have had our eyes on that game, and it's the biggest match of the weekend. And despite there being no promotion relegation, I agree, on fair play Jersey.
Yeah, good win that.
Yeah, great win.
There's one club, because of the financial situation, who could actually be a sustainable rugby club at the top level.
Jersey. Maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it depends what they're spending now, doesn't it? I mean, I don't know. The answer is I do not know.
Point being, they could spend like 30% less and get the same quality of squad as the rest of the Premiership.
Why'd you say that?
Tax levels.
Because tax laws.
I understand.
Yeah.
Good.
It's like if there was a Premiership rugby team in Dubai.
Yeah, but do they have to live in Jersey?
It'd be pretty tricky to fly in, fly out.
Yeah, the reason I say that is you have to be resident in Jersey, right?
Yeah.
So, presumably, in the off-season, your holidays, you don't want to be spending too many days in the UK because you no longer get day of arrival and day of leaving as part of your allowance. So you would have to be very, very careful about not being in the UK for too long, or you'd then suffer UK tax rates.
Yes, but as long as you can manage that, just go to France. It's closer.
Yeah, true. Oh, just employ French players.
Yeah.
I mean, there's loads of them. They're only over the other side. Mind you, you don't have the tough one. But Jersey have got quite a few interesting players that have sort of come from that small island. Matt Banahan would be one.
Yeah.
I'll give you another one.
Le Bourgeois.
Is he from there?
I'm sure Michael Le Bourgeois is.
With that name?
Yes, I think you're right. And
Guy Thompson.
Now, did he just, because there's players who've played for Jersey.
Guy Thompson is definitely from Jersey.
Born and raised in Jersey.
I think so.
You can always tell the ones that have like multiple different, the ones that could play for any home nation.
Yeah. Banahan.
The one with yachts.
Banners is one.
Yeah, the ones with yachts.
So, Michael Le Bourgeois, born in Jersey. Guy Thompson, born Hereford.
Oh, really?
Bishops of Hereford School and then Bromsgrove School.
Oh, there you go. I'm sure he's from Jersey, but maybe not.
Yeah,
he did play for Jersey.
He played. He's one of those who played for Jersey before going on to others, but wasn't from Jersey.
His career was strange. So I didn't think he was very good at Wasps. I thought he was excellent for Tigers. And then no one wanted him in the Premiership, and I couldn't believe that.
He got to kind of 33 and no one wanted him.
Yeah, and I thought he was one of the best ball carriers in the entire Premiership, like when he retired.
I kind of always liked both Wasps and Leicester. I thought he was always very handy.
He played against Toulon once, and Freddie Michalak dump tackled him. And I thought I could run over Freddie Michalak. There's no excuse for professional number 8 not to run over Freddie Michalak.
He wasn't the biggest number 8.
I've just never been able to shake that. It's probably unfair, but I could never shake that image.
JB, you've just opened the door to by mentioning Toulon. Just suddenly thought, being as we just corrected a mistake from last week, not mentioning Jersey versus Ealing, we should really mention the Champions Cup semi-finals. And potentially, in that game in Dublin, Leinster versus Toulouse, it has the potential to be the greatest European game ever.
Ever?
It has that. You've got the world's best player, maybe the player that will go down as the greatest ever rugby player on one team. With the champions with the champions of Europe. And then you have the all-conquering, world number 1 filling Leinster team.
Interesting. I think that Toulouse batter them.
Wow.
I really do. Toulouse are massive. I don't think Leinster see many teams like Toulouse. The Irish victory in the Six Nations means, again, they've not really faced the hardship that they need to, and Toulouse are not playing games.
I mean, they did face some hardship to get there, to win the Six Nations.
Yeah, but they basically destroyed everybody. I mean, they weren't. When did they really find themselves under pressure?
That first half against France.
Yeah.
They were under a lot of... That was a hell of a first half. In terms of a spectacle for a neutral, the first half was absolutely incredible. In terms of the spectacle for an Ireland fan, the second half was incredible because they just suffocated.
Yeah. There's a saying in, I think, either jiu-jitsu or MMA, which is, how do you turn a black belt into a brown belt? You punch him in the nose, right? And it's going to be very interesting to see how Leinster deal with their line not necessarily being broken, but being consistently bent by big man after big man, just challenging them continuously. And Toulouse are full of enormous men. It's going to be so difficult, so difficult. And I don't think you see this challenge when you play the Scarlets or whoever else it may be. I just think they're
the Sharks.
Yeah, but didn't they lose the Sharks
the Bulls
in the semis? And they also
they did lose. I can't remember if it was Sharks or Stormers.
It was
the Sharks v Stormers. I think was the final last year.
So they've come unstuck before doing stuff like this. Mind you, that was one of the luckiest games of rugby ever. That semi-final.
And it's the kind of thing they've fallen at this hurdle once before.
Well, they've not won it for 11 years.
What?
Or they've won it once.
Once they won it in 2019, 18.
Have they won it once in 11 years, Leinster? I wouldn't be betting my house on Leinster winning this, even if they're slight favourites.
I wouldn't bet my house on it. Just you were talking then as if it's going to be impossible. I think Leinster are in my mind Leinster are 60 to 40 favourites in this. Play it 10 times. Leicester win 6 of them. Toulouse win 4 of them.
Yeah, I mean, it's just so hard. Yeah, DuPont is such a class act. That pack is so enormous. I mean, the Leinster pack isn't small by any stretch. They're very well oiled. I just don't know. Can they settle into their systems? Can they play the game that they want to against Toulouse? It's going to be very, very difficult. And then you've got people like Entomac, who are just coming into their prime now.
Entomac and the guy I think is more important is Ramos.
Jesus,
I think Ramos is because he does so much. Because he kicks, he plays second receiver, he controls the game, and he scores tries.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not overly enamoured by Peter Aki and the various centre combos that they put out, and I am pretty enamoured by Leinster's centre combos, particularly Ringrose. I mean, Ringrose is different level good.
Yeah,
it's going to be a good game, but I just think big men, you just don't beat big men. They're just very, very hard to beat.
Unless you've got lots of big men.
Yeah, So La Rochelle, Toulouse, to me, seem like the two obvious candidates to win this thing. But that's how I've got a little bit of confirmation bias because that's how I like my rugby played. So,
And you've said repeatedly that Leinster, the Irish-based Leinster players can have one thing, they can't have three things, or four things. They can have either the Six Nations, the Pro 14, or URC, whatever it's called, the Champions Cup, or the World Cup. They can't have all four. They won the first one, so that means they're going to lose the next three.
Exactly right. Yeah.
Or if Leinster do win the Champions Cup, it means Ireland aren't even getting out of the pool at the World Cup, let alone a quarter-final.
I doubt it. Not winning a single game.
They might win. You're right. They might win one of the next two, let's say URC or the Champions Cup, but then they can kiss any hopes of doing anything in the World Cup goodbye. They'll lose to Namibia or whoever the dead rubber is in their pool.
On a serious note now, on a very serious note, we've all been parts of winning teams. I've been part of a team which has been winning at, say, level 7, and we didn't lose a game at home since like 2019. And when you are all of a sudden losing, you kind of don't understand what you need to do. It's a really jarring kind of feeling. And that feeling that's just a natural human feeling. Mm-hmm. So if Leinster find themselves behind, who are they looking to? Or when is their last recent experience of digging themselves out of a hole against an absolutely world-class opposition? And that's the difficult part.
Mm.
So, if they get ahead early, I suspect they could easily carry on scoring. But if they don't, that's when they're going to have problems.
So your prediction is Toulouse?
Toulouse.
Tim?
I think Leinster.
And I said before, 64. I think Leinster are slight favourites. Home advantage will do them well. They have seen some, although not all, of this France team, with some, although not all, of this Leinster team, slightly more of this Leinster team, a few weeks ago, and Ireland beat France. So that's not a bad test, I think.
Did you notice the Leinster score this weekend? 77-6.
Yeah, they're third or fourth team.
Did they get hammered? Who were they playing?
Absolutely battered it.
Bulls in South Africa.
Oh, okay. So they sent the kids. Their kids normally do them pretty proud, but evidently they got 62-7. Yeah.
Oof.
Wow.
Oof. Yeah, tough on that.
That is a tough one.
I really enjoy the South African team. It is one of the few areas of rugby that I'm genuinely very interested in now, is these South African teams. I shouldn't be. I resented it to start with, but they are interesting.
They are interesting.
Like just the size of the men that they can put on the field for a start. The quality of players that are coming back to South Africa. If you're a South African rugby fan, you've got to be so excited about this.
Who did I see? Oh, was it the Lions? What's his called? Willem Alberts. I know it was playing. Yes, for the Lions.
Alberts?
Yeah.
That's a name I've not heard for a long time.
I know. He played second row.
He played
at 38.
Bloody hell.
For the Lions.
Now, he must be, look him up, I'm going to go with 140 kilograms.
So I'm sure I checked this out. He's listed at lower than that. But let me just do it now. So he's listed at 6'4".
Is that all he is? Has he played prop as well?
6'3.5", according to this. He's not. I don't think he's played prop.
I think he might have played prop,
He's listed a flanker/lock. 6'3.5", and he's listed at 120 kilos.
No.
I think at 38 he might be above 120 kilos, because I'm sure that was. I'm sure he's always above 120 kilos when I've seen him play.
I'm sure, like schoolboy levels, and he has played prop. I'm sure he has. It's seared into my mind. Oh, he went to France for years, didn't he?
He did. Yeah. He was. Let's have a look at it here. Stade Francais. 5 years. Is it only 5 years actually at Stade Francais?
Wow. Yeah, so they're all sort of slowly returning, and it's mega to see. It is mega to see.
That's a 38-year-old man. Just jumping across though, just things we've got to touch on. Bath are good. Bath are all right. Look at them. Could qualify for Europe.
Bath. the turnaround in Bath, I mean, I take it all back, apart from when I've said their best players have been brought in this season, which is 100% true. But they are actually looking like not the worst team in the league, which is
called it.
High praise indeed. You did, and I laughed. I said, no chance, they are awful, absolutely dreadful. Now, they do massively rely on Ollie Lawrence.
Yeah.
A little bit less so in this game on Ted Hill. But Ollie Lawrence is so important to them. But they deserve to win. They put in a good performance against Quins, and Quins looked a bit. And it's funny when you were watching the preview before the match. I think it was Austin Healy pointed out that the Bath team all looked serious, like they were taking this game 100% seriously. Harlequins, they were at Twickenham, they were laughing and joking, smiles on their faces, which is on one hand good to see, but also it did not look like they were taking the game seriously. They were looking at the occasion, and it did, like, genuinely, I had that kind of ringing in my ears as I was watching it, and it did come across as kind of true. Maybe it's just confirmation bias because I'd just been told it, but you could believe it, that Quins were not as up for this game as Bath were.
Well, what was there left for them to do, really?
The Quins, yeah.
By the way, you mentioned it then. I have to say, so I've had a couple of recent trips to Newcastle to work, and I've worked with Austin Healy, and we've both stayed at the same hotel. There are very few people I would want to sit in a bar with and just have them tell me stories. He's got some incredible stories. He's so good. I'll fill you in on some of them another time.
Dude,
I would love to hear them.
I think of the kind of regular commentators or co-commentators or colour guy, whatever you want to call that kind of group of Delalio,
Pundit?
Benkei. Yeah, Pundit's probably the better of Ugo, Delalio, Benkei, Austin Healy is
all great guys.
They're all great guys, no doubt. And all your colleagues, Tim. Austin is the best one. Austin constantly just seems to understand and care about the game that little bit more.
Yeah, I agree with that. Like he's another one, isn't he? He gets so much abuse for being good. Like he's just right.
He is
so often. He is right.
Yeah.
There's this weird account which represents the ambulance service of London of all teams, and they just loathe him. Like, how can you know? It is one thing to say I don't like his character, I guess, which is not an opinion that I share. It's a completely other thing to say he's not good at his job. He is the best. By a mile.
I really do think he is the best.
By a mile.
Of that class.
He also gets a load of stick for being independently wealthy. What people don't...
What? Please give me that stick one day.
Is that... Yeah, I'd love to be getting that stick.
Yeah.
So he gets a stick for being independently wealthy. But people don't realise, and people assume that he has come from some sort of traditional upper class rugby playing background. He's the first person in his family to play rugby. He's from the Wirral.
Yeah.
I mean, rugby is played in the Wirral, I might add. But yeah. I completely get that.
Yeah. Anyway, some of the stories he told were just absolutely dynamite. So
I 100% believe that. I love a beer with us.
Give me a second. So I'm trying to work out what my 1 rep max back squat should be tomorrow.
What do your calculations lead you to?
Well, I did a 5 rep max the other day of 160, which isn't particularly high.
That is pretty high.
So I will need...
Mate, I love the humble brag.
So I need...
I did a mediocre 160.
Yeah, it's not good enough. That it's simply not good enough.
I can't remember who...
Just holding that much on your back, it takes it out of you.
Yeah, someone told me today, right? This is unbelievable. Someone told me today, the only reason I don't like the new tackle law is because it means I'm going to have to get fitter. Like, what? What? There is so much misinformation about what this tackle law will actually do.
I do like you'll be your humble brag there, JB. I can't remember where I read this or who pointed it out, but this trend in seeming all sportsmen and perhaps women of saying, I'm incredibly humbled by like the most amazing, like the an achievement is like I'm so humbled to be named the best player of all time. Like that's it's the opposite. Like
exactly.
You literally want a word. The word you're looking for, the adjective you're looking for, is the opposite of humble.
No. The best one is I just want to thank God. What do you mean you want to thank God? What, he chose you and not me? You're somehow better in God's eyes than me, and that's why you win the Super Bowl.
One of the funniest things to watch at the minute are the celebrities having their blue ticks taken off and then put back on, and it is just revealed what's the right word? How vapid,
Yeah,
and narcissistic celebrities are. Is really funny to watch.
Yeah, people go wild about my blue tick. I pay for it, right? And so do I, because I believe in paying for services that I use. Like, I find it bizarre. Do you know what? People say, "Oh, can you give me some mates rates?" Like, don't get me wrong, I do appreciate it. But if it is really your friend, should you not be paying them the full rate for their services? So like any service I use, I want to pay the market rate for the service. And also, I don't know if you've noticed this, I'm kind of dyslexic. Editing my tweets is worth £12 a tweet, let alone £12 a month.
bargain.
Absolute bargain. Couldn't be more of a bargain, quite frankly.
Oh dear.
Oh well,
that's very good. Quinn's really bad. I'm trying to just rattle through other games.
Quinns did a few bits. Exeter, Dafford Jenkins red card after less than 20 minutes. Bristol score shortly thereafter, and you think it's going to be a tough day at the office for Exeter. They came through. They won the game. They got their pick and go game going big time, and they won this with 14 men against Bristol's 15 for the whole game. Fair play, Exeter.
Right. I think it's important now, because we missed this. There is another European game, and it's Exeter La Rochelle.
Good point.
So I just said in the last breakdown, big men win rugby games. They don't, and therefore I think Exeter will beat La Rochelle. Skill and guile always defeats massive men. I've been consistent saying this for a long time. I do not see a single way that Exeter get out of this hole. Do you?
It's very hard.
No.
They've got to hope that they've got to kind of conjure the spirit of the team. Many of the players who are still there that won them everything over the last few years, they've got to try and bring that to the fore. And
Phil, just say the word no.
And also,
there's no chance.
And also hope that their best players, some of whom, well, one in particular, Stuart Hogg, who is perhaps past it, for 80 minutes is not past it and is 100% focused on beating La Rochelle and playing as he was in his prime 10 years ago, rather than just having hair transplants and teeth transplants and his future career. Okay,
so let's try and build a case for Exeter, because ultimately it's easy to say no, but they are European Cup semi-finalists, and that takes some doing. One way or another, it takes some doing.
It does.
And they smashed the Stormers.
They did.
I mean, they annihilated them.
Yeah, they took them apart. Little bits of luck. Stormers having a short turnaround and having to travel X thousand miles. But regardless, they still had to do it. And the Stormers are still a bloody good team.
Okay, where are they playing this?
It's away in France, isn't it?
Bordeaux.
It is, isn't it?
Bordeaux.
Is it a neutral venue? A neutral venue.
Yeah, but Bordeaux, which is down the Atlantic coast.
Okay, so like the backs stack up quite nicely, don't they? Slade is a quality operator. Hogg can roll back the ears. Woodburn, no, lovely. So far, competitive.
Yeah.
I don't know what they do at halfback. Their halfbacks are not the top end, and I don't know what they do at 12. Do they go with Witten? I probably would.
Yeah, Kata, if he's fit.
Kata is he's got the most yards, most yards or most line breaks in the Premiership. So if he's around...
Well, one more time, let's get the diminutive Ian Witten and the giant Tom Hendrickson together so we can watch them all decide who's biggest.
Get the band back together. I completely agree with that. As nice as those backs sound, or some of those backs sound, it's not going to be one there. So
no, it's not going to be one there.
They need an early red card to a La Rochelle player, and then another red card to a La Rochelle player, and then a shocking refereeing decision, and then Rob Baxter to, Ronan O'Gara to do a big streak across the pitch,
Well, there is a blueprint of what you might want to do against.
and a tsunami to just cause a distraction. I don't know.
So, well,
It's not going to happen.
So we've got two recent games
Just
against
not going to happen.
La Rochelle with two very different outcomes.
Gloucester and Saracens.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gloucester, not unbelievably, but Gloucester with by far more tactically successful team. So how do Exeter take the Gloucester model?
And also, I'm going to bring up another game. Ulster should have beaten La Rochelle.
Yeah.
Oh.
Now, do you know which coach is nobody's fool?
Rob Baxter.
Rob Baxter.
Rob Baxter.
So if you think he's not watched both these games in detail, he'll have something up his sleeve. I don't know what that... I mean, it might be worthless because he might get pumped in the scrum, concede penalties, everything gets kicked, they're then chasing the game, they then concede ship a load of points. But also, it might be great. I don't know.
The scrum is a bit of a worry.
Such a worry because Exeter have not been scrummaging well.
No. They're not scrimmaged that well for...
Ages.
Yeah.
Like, if you remember, is it the Premiership final, first scrum? I can't remember who. Was it the Premiership final? Or was it might have been Bath Saracens, actually, I'm thinking of. But I'm sure Exeter had a scrum which lasted like 60 seconds. And they just stood there in the centre of the field with the pressure too great to perform the strike. And like neither team wanted to give up.
Yeah.
And they just stood there in this unbelievable scrum, not moving.
Was that when all of the Exeter front row was like on the cusp of England call-ups?
Yeah.
So Mutt-Dickey, Harry Williams, Moon and or Hepburn.
Yeah, something like that.
All at the same time.
And they would just... Oh, it was... Although, do you know what? I actually think it was Bath because we interviewed Rob Webber in the pub.
God, that's going back quite a few years.
And I remember asking him about that as if he was there, which means it'd be Bath Saracens. But I'm sure it was Exeter.
There's been many scrums over the years.
There have been many scrums.
There's been lots
Why
of
is the words not
scrums
been
over
spoken?
lots of games. Yeah, let's zoom back out for a second. Anything else?
Find me that one scrum. My favourite scrum of all
Anything
time.
else? Any more?
On scrums?
On anything.
Oh, I'll say one thing. The Rafi Quirk's Broughton Park under 15s were on their little kind of weekend away up on the Fylde coast.
Oh, lovely. How'd that go?
And I couldn't be there because I was down in Gloucester watching Gloucester v Sale, and so I got Rafi. I went out onto the pitch before the game, and fair play to Rafi Quirk of Broughton Park. He did a little video which I then WhatsApped to the boys.
Awesome.
They loved.
Oh, nice.
That is cool.
So Rafi Quirk.
Cool.
So Rafi Quirk's Broughton Park played. Rafi Quirk plays for Gus War's Sale Sharks. Is that the same guy?
Yeah.
I think it's Will Cliff's Sale Sharks for now.
Rafi Quirk is looking sharper and sharper, like he's getting back to peak Rafi. So keep
Good.
an eye on him. But
So-
yeah, Gus Ward.
Actually, I just want to go back to Gus War. So there was a Netflix series been made about
Gus War.
of Gus War, right?
Wow. They are desperate.
Of either this season or next season, right? So Netflix are involved with rugby. There is going to be a Netflix style thing.
Is this Six Nations?
No, it's for the Premiership. Right?
So I've heard about the Six Nation one.
No, it's
The
Let
Premiership one
me
as well.
just check my messages.
Anyway, make your point. It's a Netflix style thing. It's not Netflix.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh no, you're right. They're trying to sell it to Netflix, aren't they?
Ah.
Yes. Thank you, Tim. So, yeah, just give me a second. Okay, fine. Which you might see me on, FYI. Yeah.
Interesting.
So, anyway, if they were going to make that documentary for this year, do you know the person that I would speak about as a absolutely brilliant story would be Gus War.
Yeah,
Particularly if Sale Sharks win this competition.
Yeah.
And they're one of in the top two favourites, I would say, to do so, if not the favourite. It'll be no small thing down to him.
Yeah.
Because he's the starting nine. And
Yeah.
it is a remarkable achievement, which just nobody's really talking about. This young kid, in his first real start for a top team, is guiding them to the Premiership. And to be
Well,
fair
at
to him,
this point, people weren't talking about earlier in the season, but they have been. Like when people are coming up with teams of the season and stuff, he's regularly being mentioned by a lot of people.
why didn't they listen to me at the start of the season?
Well, that's fine. Well,
Yeah,
people that listen to the podcast know.
Yeah. So there's that, and of course, I think I'm not just saying this for comedy value, but Rob Dupree,
Best 10 in the league for most of the year.
100%.
I mean, like
he should be fly half in the team of the season.
it's crazy, isn't it?
All 13.
All 13. No, he has to play 13.
Because that means for next year's team of the season, he'll be the best fly half.
Yeah.
He'll be World Player of the Year next season if he wins.
Carries on playing.
Premiership Player of the season at 13.
Well, go on. I was going to just say about Sale Sharks quickly. You saw you saw the game. We didn't talk about Sale Sharks, which is unfair being the second team in the country. They look like they are sharpening up their attack nicely with George Ford. I watched bits and pieces of this, about maybe half an hour in total. I think with ball in hand at the moment, they are really, really coming on leaps and bounds. And that's good to see because they didn't have that for a long part of the season.
Are they Are they soon to be the best team with ball in hand in the league?
Again, you mean?
Again, yes. Reinstate
their defence is better than their attack. Their defence is like an 8 or a 9 out of 10. Their attacks are 6 out of 10, I'd say, but can improve and will improve and is improving. But Ben Curry, absolute machine. Love that guy.
It sounds like you want to get off this topic of Sale Sharks, Tim. This is what it sounds like.
No, I just want to wrap it up.
Yeah.
Okay, wrap it up then.
No, so I was just going to say that Rafi Curtis Broughton Park under-15s went away to a storied and a brilliant rugby club, Fylde.
It is a
great.
Thank you. Yes,
great rugby club.
It's a fantastic rugby club, and I love what they've done at their clubhouse. They've got Bill Beaumont all over it. It's great, celebrating the heritage that they've got in their club. One of its most famous players, although I think Bill Beaumont has overseen some shocking things lately, but that's a separate matter.
Yes. I'm not sure we'll be celebrating him that much next year, but nevertheless.
But this was the unofficial 3rd, 4th place Lancashire Cup match. It was the two losing semi-finalists going head to head.
Oh, I see.
Okay.
And Rafi Curtis Broughton Park won 33-21.
Oh, great result. Great news.
Bloody hell, that is good news. Well done.
Yeah.
So yeah, still the semi-final still hurts a little bit, but we'll take 3rd best team in Lancashire
and build on it for next season, just like Leinster are going to do this year.
Yeah. By the way, if you are a very good coach with what it takes, Didsbury Talk H are looking for a head coach for next year.
Interesting.
So if you want to apply, get in touch with Didsbury. You will have an unbelievable squad to work with.
What's Jamie Peacock doing?
Jamie Peacock has taken a year out to complete his sports masters.
Wow.
Sports administration masters.
So you only get the job for a year then?
You get the job for as long as you keep winning.
Yeah.
We've left you with one incredible squad, so over to you. If you think you're that person and you want an incredible squad, Didsbury Talk H, with the best club I have ever been part of, so it's there for you.
But their incredibly handsome Apex Predator tight head prop may be unavailable for large parts of next season.
No, I have made my decision. I will never ever play the game with these new laws. However, I've also made another decision, which I'm almost certainly going to be playing in Colwyn Bay next year.
Really?
So, in the words of LeBron James, I will be taking my talents to Colwyn Bay. So I'm pretty sure I'm going to do that, or I'm going to do mould or something.
Do mould. Mould's good bunch of boys.
It is a good bunch of boys, but it just works better for me to play
Colwyn Bay,
literally next door to my parents' house.
Hometown club. I love it.
Yeah,
going home like Willem Alberts.
Exactly like Willem Alberts.
And you're a similar weight.
Documentary on JB.
Yeah, similar weight, similar size.
What was I say? Just the only final thing I'd say is, if you're not already, get on Succession. It is such a good show. It's in top 5 programs of all time in my mind.
Wow.
It's up there. It's up there with The Wire.
I was about to say The Wire. The Wire would be number 1.
Breaking Bad's number 1.
Wire is comfortably number 1.
Yeah, it's comfortably number 1. You're absolutely right there, Tim. Do you want to talk quickly about the high tackle stuff at RFU? I mean, I feel like I've said everything I need to say about it, but it is now confirmed. We know what the laws are. The laws have been written behind our back and are exactly what they said they were going to be when they leaked the when they leaked them, when they did the first vote, and the consultation meant effectively nothing.
That's all I want to say. I was going to say I'd refer people to previous podcasts. All I'd want to say on the matter is, in my mind, decision was made months ago.
Yeah, it's obvious.
And the consultation is that's the bit that really that's the bit that stings with me more than anything. Actually, is the fact that it's being portrayed as being the decision of rugby players in England.
Yeah, it wasn't. They didn't even get 1,000 people to fill out their forms.
No, and I tried to fill out the consultation, quote unquote, and there was no place and no way that you could express anything other than the only thing you could grade is your level of agreement. From slightly agree to massively agree.
They're just scumbags. I mean,
that was it. You couldn't dissent or
Yeah, they're absolute scumbags. There's no.
Anyway, and it was a fait accompli. They made up their mind, realised they got a PR disaster. I feel sorry for the comms team who had no part of it. They got thrown under a bus, and then they thought, "Oh, we've got to try." And they tried to back engineer it so the optics looked better, and they didn't get a load of shit.
Yeah,
that's basically what's happening.
I've spoken to some. There's so many problems with this. Did you see Law 9 point something, which snuck in as well about players lowering their tackle?
That's the bit I wanted to. So I wanted to make 2 points. One being the tackle. The only change in the tackler height from when this first kind of got rolled out was waist has changed to below the sternum.
Yeah,
now which is waist, mate.
Which is waist.
Well,
it's the belly tackle. They told us.
Look at the picture that they put on there. It's
my point.
Base, it's below the base of the sternum. It isn't the base of the sternum. It's below the base of the sternum, which is the top of your hips, aka your waist.
My point was gonna be, it's marginally better than waist, but it's but the problem, I guess, the problem with the first one was waist was so poorly defined or deliberately not defined previously, but it is not right.
They told us,
but the other one is the point that you've just made, JB.
Yeah, this is horrific.
It's 9.11 or 9.11 point B. Ball carriers must not lower their height significantly before making contact with an opponent in open play.
Do you know what that means? The ball carrier must accept the tackle.
Yeah. Now, did you see... what's the name of the big South African second row for Harlequins? Massive beard.
Herbst.
Yeah. So, Erne Herbst. Is that right?
Isn't it Joubert? Something?
No. Anyway. He carried the ball almost by... Herbst. Erne Herbst. Almost by RFU directive, completely upright into Tom Dunn and Benno Urbano.
How did that work out for him?
Incredibly badly.
Really?
He got absolutely nailed. He was near perfectly upright, 6'6". They're both quite a bit shorter, but both independently, both almost as heavy or heavier than him. He got absolutely flattened.
Good.
He got nailed.
Good.
So if you're good, so my concern with this is not really about people getting nailed, because hits like that are awesome. It's how does this get enforced? How does law 9.11.b actually get enforced? Because if you're going to have a ball carrier dips into a contact as a penalty, if they dip into a contact and get hit in or above the sternum, that's 2 penalties. Does that both just cancel each other out?
Who knows?
How is we actually need to get the
guidance
to referees as to how this is going to be.
Yeah, it's
applied.
Almost like they should have run a trial, but not with the whole game. But they don't care, and people aren't. I mean, so many people keep telling me it's about safety, and then you point out the numbers. So it can't be about safety. It can't be about concussions. It can't be about all these things. It simply can't be, right? So, what is it about?
Sorry, I'm going to stop. I have to go.
Do you?
Oh, okay.
You wrap up with this. I've said what I want to say, and I totally agree with you. And yeah, sorry.
Cool.
Right.
Cheers, Tim.
Where have you got to go, Tim?
Sorry?
Where have you got to go?
I I haven't eaten, and the shops are shutting at 11.
Ah.
I'm hungry.
There's not like a sex worker at your door or something, no?
In a bit.
Just
Obviously got the wrong room. The wrong room.
he has been trying to wrap this up for quite a while.
Yeah, he's really been trying to wrap it up.
I wish he'd just said I want to go for a burger or a sandwich or something. Ah, well.
Oh, well, it is what it is.
Yeah, how... I'm going to be absolutely fascinated. Sorry, I'm going to be fascinated by two things. One, what is the guidance they're going to give to the referees? Because it would be nice if they make that public. I suspect they won't make that public, but I'm certain that we will get our hands on whatever guidance is given to the referees. But then, how is this actually going to play out in reality?
Yeah, I don't know.
Because what I don't know, because this is two of the three big things that they did in France. In France was below the sternum or belly tackle, plus ball carrier not supposed to dip, plus only one-on-one tackles, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So this is 2-3. But what I don't know, I've said this before, people use that French study in both directions. To some people, it was a total joke and not worth the paper it was not really written on. To some, it is the saviour of the game and it's massively improved participation.
It can't have.
I don't
have.
Yeah. I don't know. I suspect it's neither of those things. As with most things, it's somewhere in between.
I don't think it's somewhere in between, Phil.
I don't think it's been reported well or at all.
So
it's so limited.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of things to unpack in that. Let's just go through things bit by bit. Let's just say the RFU are correct, and it does increase participation numbers. That might be true. You might have a whole new generation of players that just love rugby all of a sudden, but they've done it at the expense of people that have played this game, like myself, for 20 years. I want no part of it. So we've all been part of building it, but we're not part of the future, and we've not been consulted. So they're just taking the game that we built and handing it over to someone else. And I think actually people say it's not about you, or it's you're not that important. But I'm not talking about me because I'm not that important. But if you sort of replicate people like me several thousand times, well, then that is fairly important. So they're just saying, look, this is no longer your game. We don't want you in clubhouses. We don't want you playing the game. I mean, they'll say that they want us to take on the new laws, but I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. So they've just people don't think this is a ban. This is a ban on rugby. And the reason it's a ban is because I want to play the game which I saw on the TV today, and I'm not allowed to do that. If that's not a ban, I don't know what is. Changing the laws means you change the laws for everybody. And, that I think could be acceptable. This is a ban.
I do completely agree with that. I think we're... The three of us are broadly aligned on this. Yeah. And I think we will watch with bated breath.
Well,
it will definitely get presented as a success until it can no longer be presented as a success, until everything is falling apart.
Well, this is it. Okay, so I'm not going to do this podcast for much longer, and because of that, I feel free to say basically whatever I want now. There's one of the big problems.
You've been holding back all these years.
Exactly right. One of the big problems with this, and one of the reasons Twitter is important, is because if you want to argue your point in the clubhouse, you can't argue your point in the clubhouse because everybody fundamentally agrees that these changes are nonsense. I am yet to meet a real-life rugby player or real-life rugby administrator who's not on Twitter in person who agrees with these changes. Not a single ref, not a single player, not a single coach. None of them. One coach actually said it won't be that bad because he assumed that it was a done deal to be nipple height. He was wrong. What he thinks now, I do not know. So now, but we've accepted the process. We've accepted the process. Now we're going to have to accept the outcome. The people supporting this, I have a special place in hell for them if they're not involved in the game. So there are a couple of people on social media at the moment who, it's hard. People say you're just angry because they don't agree with you. I'm angry because it doesn't affect them, and they are pushing for a change that it doesn't affect. I'll give you. I mean, one guy described me today as a pound shop Andrew Tate. Right, Andrew Tate is currently in jail. Right, in Romania for trafficking women. I'm married with 2 daughters, and I just don't want to play a game which is different to the game that I've played for 20 years. So what I'm trying to say is there is like this whole sort of cadre of people that don't play, and it is now dividing into very loud people that don't play, who are more interested in taking away things from people they disagree with than they are with the actual game itself. And, you look at some of the comments, this is going to increase the offloading. Paul Williams today said, or who's a very influential voice in the Twitter sphere, and actually a nice guy, he actually said, I'm fully behind this. And to me, he's just sold us out. What he doesn't understand is there won't be clubs. What he doesn't understand is this really affects people that play the game. He doesn't appreciate that all my friends will be leaving this game. My club doesn't have a head coach. All of these things actually matter. And yet, here he is. I fully support it because why? It gets him some Twitter likes and gets him on the right side of the authorities. I think it's a complete sellout. So all of these people are currently just giving cover to the RFU trashing the game. And the problem we have now is it seems to polarise to the point that if you are anti-RFU changes, you're Andrew Tate. According to Mike Bubbins, I might add.
Pound shop Andrew Tate.
Yeah, which is astounding. I guarantee, if we look into, if we're just going to level false accusations at people, we might want to look at his history of paedophilia. Oh, that's right. You just don't say things which are false for good reason. So that's where we are with the with the high tackle stuff, and the argument around it now is just so polar. It's over. The whole thing is over. Yeah. It's over. There's nothing we can do. And
now this step has been made. There is no way to unring this bell.
No,
this has happened. Now I'm slightly more sanguine, although not a lot more, but slightly more sanguine than you on this. Just in the, I think there's a lot of people who play the game who have heard the laws, heard it's going to be a bit silly, but aren't as engaged with the game and the following as you and I are, and many of the people who listen to this podcast are. And so they probably haven't seen that ultimate polarisation.
No.
And so might just be turning up ready to hear the new laws on the first day of pre-season.
Yeah.
Think it's a bit ridiculous, but just crack on.
Yeah.
But they might also play the game for 3 weeks and there's 50 penalties per game for the first 3 weeks, which means there isn't really a game. Therefore, they just say, well, let's not bother.
Exactly.
Or the first 3 referees all interpret it entirely different. Because I can see that happening as well. Where one referee is, well, basically you've got to be tackling at the hips or below, and others will be, well, yeah, it was probably above the sternum, but you didn't hit him in the head, so play on.
But if you're just a confrontational bloke that likes to run out on a Saturday and whack people, you can't do that. And I think when you put it in those...
Well, you can still do that.
Can you?
I'd say that Erne Herb's tackle that I mentioned before, that would be a perfect example of the new tackle laws. It's a massive hit.
That is a massive hit.
He got absolutely levelled.
That is almost his fault.
Well, that's what the new laws is going to look like. That's going to happen non-stop.
Do you know, on a serious note, thinking about that, it's not going to be a nice game to play, is it?
How they enforce that 9.11b, so I don't think they can, but if they try to, it'd be awful as a ball carrier. No one will want to carry the ball.
I've not really thought of that because I don't know.
There will be big hits. There'll be big hits left, right, and centre.
Yeah, you're not going to want to carry the ball at all.
No.
And you're not going to be able to offload it because you'll be absolutely whacked.
Getting poleaxed.
I mean, there is a reason people don't carry the ball
upright. Yeah. Watch that. If you've not seen it, watch that. Halfway through the first half, I think it was, Erne Herb, totally upright, absolutely levelled.
Yeah. No, I still stand by my original comment that, the whole point of these law changes, I guess, he did get levelled, is to take the aggression out of it, to take the physicality out of it.
And it might be like the when they tried to depower them all by not having the ball carriers shifting backwards.
Yeah.
And it actually... repowered them all or uppowered. It was more powerful.
It enforced using the better technique rather than the easier technique.
Yes.
Whoops.
Exactly.
That's not what we wanted. No, I just think it's polarised now. Like all arguments with even the slightest political angle to it, and it's a case of if you don't believe in the science or in the injury rates or increasing safety and whatnot, you're some sort of yob. You're some sort of uneducated moron.
Andrew Tate. I've always thought of you as a bit of Andrew Tate.
Yeah.
You like a bit of rolling, a bit of jiu-jitsu.
He doesn't do jiu-jitsu, does
Does he not? He's a kickboxer,
He's a
isn't he?
kickboxer, yeah.
Yeah.
I think I'm better at CrossFit than him.
I think you would be.
I guarantee that Mike Bubbins has got an equally as abusive record to women as Andrew Tate. I guarantee. If you were to look at our past histories, I bet he is super abusive. Because that's exactly where these men hide.
That is a horrible, horrible, unfounded allegation.
Well,
JB.
it is, isn't it? But I mean, that's like that's his midwittery at play. Pound shop Andrew Tate. By the way, everything I just said about him, I have no idea. I don't know. But that's like the level. That is the level of the man.
You're right. This has all been polarised, and it's all nonsense.
No, it's not
So
nonsense, is it?
Well,
Because,
it is nonsense, but it's going to be the future.
there was again, not to pick on Paul Williams again, but his view is, well, let's just trial it and see how it goes. And I agree. But you can't trial it with the whole game.
With a total rule out across the board. You
can't trial it. You can't trial burning down a house or burning down a village. Maybe burn down a house. Don't burn down the village. You can't rebuild these things. It's over. And, to hear him say that is heartbreaking because he is the sort of influential person that gives these people cover. And he just doesn't understand that. And do you know the other thing which really annoys me about the whole thing is the whole thing like, oh, are you all right? Are you all... Like, as if the problem is the people that are upset about it. The problem is you're upset about it, and therefore you are by default the problem. You wouldn't be a problem if you just accepted what's happening to you.
If you didn't get upset, JB.
Yeah, just accept it. Why don't you just accept it? Do you know what the team's mindset is?
No.
Team's mindset is people that oppose bad policy are basically accused of being the problems because the policy is inevitable.
Yeah.
So you just have to accept that policy.
I kind of know the principle, but not the name teams.
Yeah. So that's kind of what's happening here.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, it is inevitable. And, you're... Yeah, I am upset. And you know what? It's perfectly okay to be upset. It's perfectly okay. And you should be angry. You should be upset. And if you don't like it, don't play the game, which is exactly the choice which I've made.
So, JB, I'm going to ask you one more time.
Am I okay?
Are you okay?
No, I'm not. I'm fucking not okay. But I think that's it. I think once the game's gone, it's gone. And we'll just roll it back, will we, Paul? Brilliant. A great thinker.
Fantastic. Let's finish there.
Let's do that.
It's been fun. Some good things, some bad things. Maybe the bad things outweigh the good things this week. If you like this podcast, we are at Rugby Podcast on Twitter. You can get in touch with us. We didn't go through any emails this week. It's normally Tim's job. Contact EggChasers@gmail.com. And if you're on Twitter, I'll be lurking and in your DMs if you're very, very lucky.
Lucky.
What a threat.
Very lucky. Sinister and a threat.
Slightly sinister.
Do you know who I think pops into people's DMs uninvited, like a predator?
I'm not going to say it.
Yeah.
I'll let you say it.
Well, we all know. Mike Evans does it.
We all know.
Yeah, he does it.
There we go. Let the boys play.
Let the boys play.